Pikachu's Iron Tail. Flip a coin until you get tails. This attack does 20 damage for each head. Okay, so how much damage does this do? Well, obviously it depends on how many heads, how lucky you are. But you can work out the expected outcome, the average damage. So we can list out how many heads we get. So we can get no heads. The first roll could be a tails. We can get heads and then tails. We can get 1 head, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Maybe if you're very lucky, you might get 5. Okay, there's 5 heads in a row. So if you get no heads, if you get tails the first time, you're going to do no damage, and so on. So how likely is this to happen? Well, if we don't know how to do probability, then we can just do this, get a coin, and we can just do a tally. So why don't we do that? Okay, so how many have I got in total? That's 8, 1, 1, 2, 1. Okay, so times by 0, I got 0. On one occasion I got 20, 40. So I add these ones up, that's 260. And I did this 13 times. Okay, so this was total 13 times. So my average will be 260 divided by 13, which comes out as 20 damage on average. Okay, well, it's a bit experimental. If I did this for ages or use the program to do it, I could get a better answer. But it turns out 20 is pretty close to the actual answer. So let's use the probability tree to help us see what's going on here. The chance of doing no damage is if you get tails straight away. So that's this branch here. Get tails straight away. The chance of that is a half. Chance of getting 20 damage is getting a heads and then a tails. So that will give you half times a half, which is a quarter. We're going to write it as half squared because that gives us the most flexibility later on. I hope you can see then. Third one, I need to get heads, and then tails. So that will give me half to the 3. There's a pattern here, increasing power of 2, so this is going to be half to the power of 4, and so on. Just like in the experimental method, we have to do damage times probability, damage times probability, and add them all up, divided by how many there are. Well, in our case, because we use probability, that's going to add up to 1. So we don't need to divide at the end, because dividing by 1 is the same as not dividing by 1. So we just need to add this up. So the expected value would be 0 times a half, 20 times a half squared, plus 40 times a half cubed, 60 times a half, and so on. Now how do we find the value of a sum which keeps going on and on and on? The summation. Well, there are a few tricks we can use. Let's tidy this up a bit. So I'm going to write this as S. The first term is 0, so let's just leave that there. Second term is going to be 20 times a half squared, 40. So what we're going to do, we're going to take 20 as a factor so that we can get nice smaller numbers inside here. So 1 times 20 is 20, 2 times 20 is 40, and then we're going to do a trick. We're going to halve this. So let's do that. Leaving the 20 outside, I'm going to halve everything in the bracket. Well, what would happen? I've got to times this guy by another half. So this would become 1 times half squared, but now times that by half again. That's going to be half to the cube. This one would be half to the 4 because I'm timesing everything by half. Why does this help? Well, if I write this slightly differently, if I was to move this across just about a bit, you might be able to see why this helps. I nudge that across like this. Okay, right, we're going to do some magic. So we're going to do the first line subtract the second line. So s take away half s will still give me half s. So I'm taking the top line, take away the bottom line. So this is going to give me 1 times half squared. 2 times a half cubed, take away 1 times a half cubed would give me 1 times a half cubed. 3 times a half to the 4, take away 2 times a half to the 4 will give me 1 times a half to the 4. And this would happen to every single term. Okay, so I'll get another 1 half to the 5. Until eventually I get, well, to n, a very large number. And this sequence here is very well behaved. This sequence looks like this. A quarter plus 8 plus 16th and so on. Everything else is the same here. Half s equals 20 times. And this sequence has properties. The first term there is a quarter, and it's going up in half because each one is timesing by a half. The ratio is a half. And with this information, we can find out what that adds to. So the sum to infinity is a over 1 minus r. So that's a quarter divided by 1 minus r, which is divided by half. So that gives us quarter divided by half is a half. So this whole bit can be replaced with a half. So half s equals 20 times a half. Then s times that over to this side. So this is 20 times a half is 10 times 2 is 20. So overall, my expected outcome is 20, which means Iron Tail does on average 20 damage.